contract with the people and the government. It's an abstract idea which you tolerate and allow to exist as long as it deals fairly with you. That's the whole deal of government. This is a new deal. It's called governance. We say you do. It says, people don't really realize what they're reading. It's fascinating. In the stultifying language that is normal for important UN conclaves, I like how they say conclaves, the negotiators are known as the Ad Hoc Working Group on Further Commitments for Annex 1 parties under the Kyoto Protocol. Boy, there's a mouthful for you. They love this stuff. Yet the consequences of the negotiations, if enacted, would be nothing short of world-changing. Getting that deal alone has become the United Nations' highest priority. And the Bonn meeting is seen as a critical step along the path to what the UN calls an ambitious and effective international response to climate change, which is intended to culminate in the later gathering in Copenhagen, which is coming up now, you see. That's why with the shock and awe, like the first article I read. So we're all going into this massive slavery system, and at the same time, to say that they're pushing Brown, the Prime Minister of Britain, said that he's talking about a new economic world order, the G20 that's coming up. The US has just said the same thing. Here's a US one here, Monday, September the 21st from Reuters. It says here, the United States will urge world leaders this week to launch a new push in November to rebalance the world economy. But maybe that's what's given the earth the wobble, as we spin, eh? But there are doubts national governments will bow to external advice. A document outlining the U.S. position ahead of the September 24th, 25th Group of G20 summit meeting in Pittsburgh said exporters, which include China, Germany, Japan, should consume more, while debtor nations like the United States ought to boost savings. That means consume less. The world will face an anemic growth if adjustments in one part of the world, the global economy, are not matched by offsetting adjustments in other parts, said the document, which was obtained by Reuters on Monday. The framework drafted by U.S. policymakers, I love how they don't even need names anymore, foresaw analysis of G20 members' economic policies by the International Monetary Fund to figure out if they were consistent with better balanced growth. We call on our finance ministers to launch the new framework by November, the document said, signaling a determined effort to maintain momentum for change created by last year's global financial crisis. The United States envisages the International Monetary Fund playing a central role in a process of mutual assessment by making policy recommendations to the G20 every 6 months. The IMF is going to rule the United States. That's what they're telling you right there. And you'll have to put in a report to them every 6 months. And you have to consume less in the U.S., while other countries have to consume more to balance out all this stuff and to balance out their carbon, this invisible stuff that no one can weigh, measure, or anything else. But what a great con this is, isn't it? A fantastic con. Who would have dreamed? Who would have dreamed? You know, one time when they came up with indulgences in the Catholic Church, you could pay for your deceased to get to heaven a bit faster if you keep paying. They pray for you. Otherwise, you were stuck in a sort of limbo, like slow motion. Not quite there on earth, not quite up there in heaven. You're kind of stuck there, like in glue. And the more prayers is said for you, the more another step towards heaven, you see. But that's where they got all this idea of carbon from. They looked at previous religions. And if people would swallow that for thousands of years, they'd swallow this one. And the new global scientists, the high priests, the white coated, the experts, you see, that have lied consistently to us for a political agenda, have no problem with it. And they're all over the place, telling us they're BS, you see. They're bothersome stuff. But anyway, that's how they do it, you see. Non-governmental organizations, that's what governance is all about. The Soviet system was run by, on the surface, for the media, by non-governmental organizations, committees. That's what Soviet means, ruled by committees, councils. The only difference is, of course, the leaders of the NGOs are picked by the Politburo. In the US, are picked by the parallel government, the foundations that set them up and fund them into existence and give them pension plans and great wages and fly them all across the world. None of them are grassroots. They're part of the big agenda to enslave the entire planet and everyone on it. Except the boys at the top, of course. They're bosses. And then to top it all off, you've got Prince Charles, who's a great supporter of the Optimum Population Trust, another private foundation, you see, that's advising the British government on how to depopulate their country and the rest of the world. Here he comes out, this goon. He's a goon. Prince Charles is a goon. I can remember when they couldn't find a job for him. They said the prince without a function. Because the Queen was the Queen, you see. And they tried to find reasons for him to exist, so they put him into buildings for a while, architecture, and so he talked about architecture and ugly buildings and stuff like that. But now they put him into the green agenda, you see. And here he is on the Telegraph, the newspaper The Telegraph, 22nd of September. And this is Prince Charles, the guy, I can remember when an article in the paper, that they flew his Rolls Royce across the world to attend a meeting, so his chauffeur could drive him from the airport to the meeting, and how much fuel it consumed at the time. That was years ago. Here's Prince Charles urging people to abandon cars in favour of walking and use public transport. The Prince of Wales is urging people to give up their cars in favour of walking and to reduce carbon emissions. And it shows him in one of his fancy cars, in his Aston Martin, one of his toys, you know. The Prince, who has 2 Jaguars, 2 Audis, a Range Rover, and still drives an Aston Martin, given to him by the Queen on his 21st birthday, said developers had a duty to put public transport and the pedestrian at the heart of their housing schemes. Speaking about the domination of the car over the pedestrian, the future king said, well, that'll be the day. We must surely be able to organize ourselves in a way in which we are not dependent on it to such a great extent for our daily needs. You see? So there he is Prince Charles, you know, in on it. So all the big ones want this. I'm surprised Prince Charles didn't say, you know, we're bringing in a new feudal system with international corporations running the show. And I'd like to go back to the old days when we had all you peasants living in villages, just raising crops for us, and so it was so much tidier, and you couldn't go very far because you had no transportation. Well, you see, that's what Agenda 21 at the United Nations is all about. Believe it, that's what it's all about. A new feudal system.